We've all seen them, beautifully rendered free energy machines that just work. And I mean, why wouldn't they? And when it comes to the pendulum, we instinctively know that there's power there. There has to be. So it's not unreasonable to think that we could get some power, at least to light a lamp, from a moving pendulum. Could pendulums be another form of free energy? Okay, as you are now typing in big capital letters, "there is no such thing as free energy," to put on the comments, which you're more than welcome to do, because you're absolutely right. From a scientific point of view, perpetual motion, free energy, cannot exist in our current understanding of mathematical and scientific laws. But from a human lifetime perspective, clearly we have wind power, solar power and wave power. But looking at my electricity bill, it's clearly not free energy, because I'm paying for it. So this argument is more about from what perspective you view it. But that doesn't stop people shouting at each other from closed rooms. Okay, went way too philosophical there, so let's just get on with this build. This is a cheap little solar motor that runs on a few volts. It's not connected to anything yet, but I'm just going to position this to get a reasonably free run. I mean, there's a lot of friction on this with all these bearings, but it's not bad. Okay, that's bad, that's a bit wobbly. I'll put another bearing in there. Yeah, that should make it a bit smoother. That's better. A generator is just a motor in reverse, so we can actually put some power into this and move the pendulum, which is how the fairground ride was working at the beginning of the video. The motor, or generator as we'll call it now, does actually have a small amount of resistance, so let's add a bit more weight to the pendulum to get a little bit more power. So this is a direct current motor. So if we're going to measure it, we're going to be getting a positive reading, then a negative reading, positive, negative. But it will give us an idea of what kind of voltage we're getting out of this. I guess you could call it alternating direct current? Maybe not. Well, I spotted a 1.7 volts there. Certainly 1.5. So now let's connect this MES bulb, and nothing's happening. Let's try that again. Nothing. And the pendulum's running slower. Let's move it away from the gear mechanism and see what kind of power we would need just to light the bulb. Yeah, we're not going to get that from the pendulum. We might have had 1.5 volts, but we had virtually no current. Not enough to light the bulb. Right, plan B. We're going to use a stepper motor. These have a lot more power, but more resistance. This stepper motor has 2 coil circuits, hence the 4 wires, so I'm only going to use 2 of them. And these 2 wires will be our generator output. And now we come to the problem of adding a load to any machine. The electrical resistance is much higher, so the pendulum is now having to do work against that electrical resistance, and that's even before we get a bulb on. And you can see how much slower the pendulum is now moving. This is a 500 gram weight. And we'll need that because we've now got the bulb attached. Okay, let's see how this goes. Yeah, that's really nice, but I'm putting a lot of effort in to lift that pendulum, and then I'm only getting about one swing out of it. So not exactly like the pendulum at the beginning of this video. Okay, this is not as great as we might have hoped, but there is plan C. I just need a bigger pendulum. Okay, I might have actually forgotten everything that I'd said in the previous video, which was all about how pendulums actually work. Because if we increase the length, the time it takes for the pendulum to swing increases. And if the circumference of the gear wheel attached at the top is the same, the time period of the swing is longer, so the speed must have gone down. And slower speed means less power for the generator. Okay, this is not going well. Right, we'll take the generator off and we'll just see how long the pendulum can swing on its own. So what's the takeaway from all this? Better engineers than me could produce a much more efficient system. So I'm not saying it's impossible for a pendulum system to produce some meaningful power. But whenever we're looking at free energy systems, once we've filtered out the ones with hidden batteries and looped edits showing lights coming on, we need to see how that's working with a load, whether that's a generator or some other resistive load. Otherwise, it's just a nice piece of art to look at.